Welcome back to the Legal Vixen Podcast. I'm trial attorney Karen Kenny, and today we have a really special guest, one of the Pot brothers, Marc Wasserman. Hi,
Hey,
Marc.
thank you very much. I got to correct you though. It's the Pot Brothers at Law
Oh, okay.
because there's a lot of brothers out there who just smoke pot together, which is great. But we're the only ones that we know of who are brothers, attorneys, and smoke pot. And we have Pot Brothers at Law, trademarked and copyrighted and all that stuff. So
Got it. That's so funny. That's a very important thing to point out.
it is.
Just so people know, me and Marc actually went to school together were you there at 7th grade or were you
Yeah,
7th through 12th? Yeah,
7th through 12th. I was there.
me
I believe
too.
you were graduated in 85 and I graduated 86.
Yes. Shout out to Whitney High School and Cerritos.
Did you happen to see the NBC news deal just like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago? Hetty Chang, who works for NBC News, is an alum, and she did a whole story on Whitney and their
I didn't see it.
50th year anniversary, and
Oh,
how every year they're number one or number two in the state.
for the charter schools?
Yep.
Yeah, that was crazy. Our school, I don't know how many people go there now, but my graduating class was like 104.
We were 107.
Oh,
So
a little bit more than us. My brother went there when it was called Whitney Community Learning Center, and his class was 36.
yes.
So
Wow.
funny.
It has
Yes.
produced a lot of great people, right?
Yeah.
The the vice mayor of economic justice in New York, Julie Sue,
Oh, I didn't know
is
that.
an alum from Whitney from 1987.
Wow, I remember that name. I think I had her in biology because I didn't take biology till I was a senior. I hated science.
And she was the labor commissioner of California and then the acting labor commissioner of the United States under Biden.
I had no idea that was her.
Yes.
I'm so out of the loop when it comes to like political stuff. I'm like,
Don't blame you.
I know. I don't even claim a party. I just exist and get
I
a
agree.
ballot. Well, today we're going to have fun because, as everyone knows that's familiar with you and your brother, you are known for advising people to keep their mouths shut.
That's the nice way to say it. Are we censored here on your
Are,
podcast?
are, are we censored? We have to ask Marvin. Are we censored here? I don't think we're censored. I think people need to hear what you're about. So,
Yeah, but it's about shutting the fuck up when cops ask questions.
yes,
That
it. You have a very popular social media too, warning people, right?
Yes, it's funny because January 22nd, 2015 is when we created our social media because my nephew, my brother's kid, forced us to. And we had no idea what the hell was anything, and we just got on there and started telling people to do what we were telling people to do for years and years, and the whole shut the fuck up just eh, exploded. And we had no idea it was gonna lead to Michael Rappaport calling us and ridiculousness and Tosh Point oh and Snoop Dogg and I mean, it goes on and on. The way it started to resonate, and we fell ass backwards into it. We have over 3 million followers across social media now,
Wow.
and we're just trying to educate people on their rights and how to, especially right now, how to survive an
Hmm.
encounter with the cops.
Yeah. Why do you think people just in general feel like they are obligated to talk to the police when they're pulled over?
Yeah, we're trained since we're kids. When we were in high school, the cops came, the car came, and hey, these are your friends, and if they want to talk to you, you should talk to them. And that's just, as a society, how it's been ingrained in our minds that these cops are your friends, and you need to talk to them. And that's, the biggest problem, because you don't have to talk to them. You don't need to say one word to them, because we have our constitutional rights. And so it's really breaking that wide open, so people understand that, since you were a kid, you were taught this, but that's not the case. And that's why a lot of innocent people have to hire defense attorneys to get them out of stuff that they didn't even do because they talked.
Yeah, that's so true. I can't tell you how many times that I've had people talk and they just get talked into saying something that isn't necessarily accurate, depending on how the police officer is doing the questioning, because some officers use specific tactics when they're questioning people to kind of force a story into the person's mouth, not necessarily letting them talk in the narrative and actually explain their side. Do you find that to be true?
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. When people, who especially didn't do anything, and they know, they're like, oh, I didn't do anything, so I'm just going to answer questions, and you're in yourself without even knowing it. It's as simple as saying, the cops, where were you coming from? Well, I was over at this store over down the way over there. And then suddenly, oh, well, a crime occurred there. You fit the description. Your car fits the description. And now you're implicated, and you incriminated yourself, and you don't even know it.
Okay, so when somebody's driving and they're pulled over, because this has happened to me, the police officer says, do you know why I pulled you over? That's usually the first question.
In California now, I think it was about 2 years ago, they created the law, and we take credit for it, unsubstantiated. The why did you pull me over law. There's a law now in California that says those cops must tell you why they pulled you over when they approach. Carved out exceptions, of course, but they're supposed to tell you. But that's what they were trained to do. Do you know why I pulled you over? And then some, oh no, I was speeding. Oh my God, did I run that red light? And it's a way for them to start casual conversation. You answer that one question, then they start, well, where were you going? Oh, you got nothing to hide. Where would you do? And that's how they get people to incriminate themselves. And that's the most important thing is, as we say in our, we have a 29-word script, 29 words that you say, and that cop comes up and he says that, why I pulled you over? Why did you pull me over? Make them tell you, because oftentimes, and you may have experienced this, the cop, I pulled you over because, your the light that illuminates your license plate is out,
So
and then,
BS.
and then 20 minutes later, oh, your blinker was out, and they change their mind as to why they pulled you over. So it's very important to start that off with, why did you pull me over?
And what's interesting is, because I do a lot of
Yes.
federal criminal defense. So when there's these sting operations or these undercover operations going on and the feds are watching someone, they'll call in the local police to do a traffic stop. So the local police are going to figure out some BS reason to pull them over because the feds have asked them to.
Yeah, I've handled a lot of those, and with people who, like, we have clients for years and years and years who've listened to us, and those cops will make something up as to why they were pulled. You did a rolling stop, and then you get that dash cam. It's like that there was no rolling stop. They're trying to manufacture a reason so they can get to, like you were saying, the feds, have been staking them out, been watching them, but we need a reason to pull them over. We need that reason. But even if they have that reason, they still have to go further before they can start searching you and do other things. And so if you maintain your rights and use your fourth and fifth and ultimately sixth, then we as defense attorneys have a much easier time showing that your rights were violated, there was an illegal search, and the whole case gets kicked.
Can you remind people in case they don't know what specifically the fourth, fifth, and sixth are?
So your fourth is your right to privacy. It's none of their business where you're going, where you're coming from. Can I search your vehicle? And here's the big mistake a lot of people make is, well, I don't have anything to hide. And they'll say that too. Well, if you don't have anything to hide, there's a problem. You don't know Johnny from 3 weeks ago was in your car and he dropped an 8 ball that has been there that you don't know about, or a bullet. I have so many cases that I have where people were like, yeah, go ahead, search, I don't have anything. And then they can rip your seats apart, they can pull everything out, and then they find something and you didn't even know it was there because somebody dropped it there. and
Yeah.
and beyond that, it's like it's just none of their business what's in your vehicle. And that Fourth Amendment, which protects us from unreasonable search and seizures from the government because we have privacy, needs to be used. And too many people just think, well, I got nothing to hide, so who cares? And the problem with that also is, like I just mentioned, even if there is nothing in your car, you consent, they rip your car apart for an hour, take your seats out, the whole 9 yards, and then say, oh, well, we didn't find anything. See you later.
And your car's
And
thrashed.
you got no recourse to go after them because you waived your fourth and said, okay, I consent to the search. So that's the fourth. Never, ever consent to a search. And your fifth, quite frankly, is your right to shut the fuck up and not answer any questions at all. Dude, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Why are your eyes red? What's that smell? Why do you have tattoos? Are you a gang member? Do you have, I could do this for an hour, right? All the questions that they'll ask, and you have no obligation to answer any of it. And answering those questions will lead to other questions. And then suddenly, now because of what you said, you've given them the probable cause to go ahead and conduct a search. And that's the thing. And we as defense attorneys, I want to fight the pullover right from the outset. You were profiling, there was no reason for it. I want to attack the search. If you consent, we can't attack the search. If you don't consent, they think they have probable cause. Maybe they don't. Oftentimes they don't. And then we can attack the search afterwards. And so the fourth and fifth go right together with that. And the sixth, of course, is when you're asking for your attorney, they're supposed to stop asking you questions. And if you happen to answer a question after you've invoked your sixth, those statements can be held inadmissible because they're really supposed to stop asking you questions once you say, I want my attorney.
I had a federal case that I just filed a suppression motion to suppress my client's statements because like 60 seconds into this interview, he says, I would rather have an attorney here. And they kept questioning him. Thank God the federal prosecutor didn't dispute it. So I've now got those statements excluded.
Good.
But I just can't believe how some people still keep talking because they feel like they have to.
Yeah. It's a problem. And like I said, it goes back to grade school and growing up being told cops are our friends.
Submit
and
to authority.
There's a lot of good cops out there, and we get messages all the time from the good cops who say, thank you. Thank you for telling people to do that. It makes our job easier. It makes it safer. And what we're telling people to do, we feel also in those moments immediately lets you know what kind of cop you got. Because when you say, why did you pull me over? I'm not discussing my day. Oh, you got a problem? You did something wrong? You get a cop like that, you already know that those guys shouldn't have a badge, and they're looking to go get you. Versus, I'm not discussing my day. A cop assesses. There's nothing in plain view. There's nothing crazy going on. Okay, here's your warning. Here's your ticket. I mean, we get reports back from people all over the country that I did what you said and I got let go with a warning,
Wow.
and I had 50 pounds of pot in my trunk.
What
But I
about the
kept my
plain
mouth shut.
What about the plain view issue? What do you tell people? Like,
You can't have anything in plain view. I mean, it's so I don't know. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago we had a case where a guy was pulled into a motel strip mall place that was a high drug trafficking
of
area,
course.
and he went to check in. They didn't have vacancy, got back in his car and was just looking for another place. Cop rolls up, and in the report says, as I got closer, I could smell that there was an illegal amount of cannabis.
What?
Yeah, it's and so approaches.
It's like Cheech and Chong's, when the van was on fire and the van was made of pot.
Exactly. And like I could have one little nug of some real fire cannabis that'll stink up the whole place. And that's not an illegal amount. But the cop, I smelled an illegal amount. And when she approached, our client said, opened his center console. Here, I just have this. And he had an eighth. Just an eighth, right? Which under California law, you're allowed to possess, that much as an adult. Mm-hmm. And then the cop went ahead and searched and went into the trunk and found 15 pounds. When we brought our motion for the illegal search, this judge said, well, when he said, I have an eighth, that gave the cop the right to see if he was lying.
Oh, geez.
And gave the cop the right to go in the trunk. That was a hard loss to take.
Yeah.
When
Where
it
was that
like,
out of? What court?
Alhambra. No, not Alhambra. West Covina. That was West Covina. We did have a case out of Alhambra, now that I think about it, that we have dubbed Black Man on a Porch case.
Oh, wow.
And I like telling this story because our client ultimately shut the fuck up, but it wasn't even about that. He rented an Airbnb house, was in his house, was on the porch hanging out. The neighbor called the cops. There's some stranger on my neighbor's porch, who the neighbor was out of the country, out of town, and had rented out the Airbnb. There's some black guy on the porch. I don't know what's going on. The cops come. By the time they come, he's, inside the house. Cops go around the back and go to the back door and just open it up and enter.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding.
Was that Alhambra PD?
Alhambra, yes. And they opened it up, and there's our client in his underwear in the kitchen, surrounded by 100 pounds of cannabis.
Oh, no.
And then they got a search warrant to search the rest of the house. And so we went in, we did our motion to challenging the initial, entry.
Yeah,
and when
what was he doing on the porch?
When I had the cop on the stand, I had just a rapid fire, just succession of, questions. What did somebody scream? Did somebody say somebody screamed? Were there tools? Was the window broken? Was there evidence of a break-in? And the cop just was no. Like, well, then what gave you the right to just open the door and enter? And so we got that case dismissed, ultimately. But that's where we live right now. People call, people say things, and because our client ultimately he shut up and everything, we were able to show that they did things wrong. There's still procedures. The cops are still bound by, the Constitution to do things properly. And a lot of them don't.
I have a question about that case where they just went into his house. Was that on the face of the police report? Like the DA would have seen that that's what happened?
Yes.
Why did they even
Yes.
file it?
Well, yes. Hey, exactly. Exactly. And when I'm watching the video, I'm watching everything. I'm looking for, okay, this guy, something's got to be here that gave him the reason to go in because they filed it. And no, one of the reasons I think DAs file things like this is, unfortunately, there's a lot of criminal defense attorneys out there who just want to get a money grab from a client,
Dump
make a
trucks.
quick deal, bleed them and plead them, and get them
Mm-hmm.
out. And I was shocked after we filed our motion that I thought they were going to dismiss
They
just
filed
from
an
the
opposition.
filing of the motion, but we had to go through the whole hearing and
Mm.
put the cop on the stand, and we did the whole thing. So it's
See, there's
quite
no
amazing.
accountability on that side.
There isn't, because
Mm.
that cop didn't get fired. He didn't get suspended. He nothing happened to him. Our client had to spend money to hire us and
Mm.
go through all this and worry for what, 8 months. I might go to jail.
Yeah.
Because we can't. I don't know how a motion's going to end, and if we're going to get it dismissed or not. And if we don't get it dismissed, now you're busted with 100 pounds of cannabis. We'll see what happens. But fortunately, that judge made a good decision on that
Oh,
day.
that's good. I have a question about, because I get this all the time. A person would be like, well, they didn't read me my Miranda rights.
Yeah. So my response to that is, people out there, you should not be concerned with your Miranda rights being read to you, because you're not in kindergarten, you're not in grade school. You wake up and go to bed with your right to shut the fuck up, with the Fifth Amendment right. You don't have to have it read to you like you're in grade school, and they tell you, and they only have to tell you when you're in custodial interrogation, right? When they come up on your vehicle after a pullover, that's investigatory, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not in a custodial interrogation moment, and they can ask you questions just like you don't have to answer them. So I try to like throw that away. Forget Miranda. Just know you always have the right to shut the fuck up,
Yeah,
because they
it's
don't have to always read. They don't have to read you your Miranda until a certain point.
true. And I don't know if you knew this, I specialize in fraud cases, criminal
No, no,
defense
no, I
fraud
didn't.
cases. Yeah, so I do a lot of white collar federal fraud stuff. And I always tell people, because I think what you're saying also applies to just being questioned in general, obviously. And I tell people in fraud cases are usually based on paper trails and documents. And the feds usually always want to get a statement from the person to fill in the gaps and make their case, because fraud cases are hard to make if they don't have statements from people. And I can't tell people enough, like, do not talk. Don't answer questions about paperwork. Just, you're going to find yourself charged. It's frustrating.
It absolutely. I understand that, and I agree with you 100%. And like we tell people, stop and think. If those cops are asking you questions, why are they asking you questions? Why aren't they just arresting you?
Right.
Because they don't have enough. They haven't been able to connect the dots. Maybe that they have this, they have some of it, whatever they have, I don't know, but they're not just arresting you because they don't have enough, and they want you to fill in those blanks, like you said, and that's a telltale sign that in those moments they just don't have enough to arrest you. So keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Um, Talking about like DUIs, because when somebody's pulled over for a DUI and there's like a script that the police use, have you been drinking? Like, a lot of people think they have to submit to the basic DUI, checklist.
Yeah.
So that's also frustrating when you get a DUI client and you're looking at the sheet when they're going through the DUI checklist. How many drinks did you have? Where are you coming from? What did you eat?
Yeah.
How do you get it into a person's head that if they're being pulled over for drunk driving, that they don't have to do all of that stuff?
Yeah. So at first, don't drive impaired on anything.
Obviously,
Because
yeah.
we get accused of like, oh, you're helping people, get off
Yeah.
on being drunk, and you're encouraging people to drive reckless and drunk and impaired. And then no, not at all. And don't drive impaired on anything, whether it's alcohol or pot or any drug or any substance or a sleep deprivation. I mean, if you're impaired to drive, don't drive. Now, that being said, you went out, you had your 2 glasses of wine, and I've had cases just like this where, they had 2 glasses of wine or a couple of hits or whatever they decided to do, and they're not impaired at those moments to drive. And you're a responsible person, and you're not impaired, and you get pulled over, and the cop says, well, what did you have to drink? And they think, oh, I just had 2 glasses of wine. I'm fine.
They always say 2.
Yes, that is the good one, and you might be fine, and you probably are fine, but you've now admitted that you drank and you drove, and then they want you to do those voluntary field sobriety tests, touch your nose, all that stuff, totally voluntary. You should never do them. They're set up to make you fail. They're subjective. And then you do that stuff because I'm fine. I know I could do that. And then suddenly you find yourself arrested because the cop says, oh, well, you missed your nose by a quarter of an inch, or, whatever the case may be. And then they arrest you. And then you got, of course, you've got to do the chemical test, or else the DMV revokes your license for a year. And I've represented a lot of people who could have simply avoided all of it if they shut the fuck up, didn't do the field sobriety test, didn't do the breathalyzer on the side of the road. Unless you're under 21, you don't have to do any of that stuff. And, the best example I give is like, somebody went to a bar and had 2 shots, drove down the street to go home and got pulled over. It hasn't hit them yet, but you do that breathalyzer, all that mouth alcohol is going to, and you're going to get taken in. And so it's important to know those, like in California and most states, it's voluntary to do the field sobriety test. And all they do is use that against you. So a lot of innocent people who get taken into custody for a DUI allegation, which we later can beat, they didn't have to go through that whole process of being booked in and bailed out and hiring an attorney and all that stuff if they just would have kept their mouth shut, not admitted to having 1, 2, any amount of drinks, and not doing those field sobriety tests and breathalyzer that are voluntary. It can all be avoided. And again, I'm the first to say, if you're out there driving impaired, you should go to jail. I don't want you on the street.
I have a confession.
You have a confession?
Yeah, you want to hear it?
I do.
I was arrested for a DUI in 1997.
Were you convicted of it?
Oh, no. So you want to hear the story?
I do.
So I don't know if you knew this. I was a cheerleader for the Los Angeles Rams before they left.
I know. You were a cheerleader for Whitney. And
I know. Woo!
I think in college you were a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know that.
So after they left, I still stayed and did... Gosh, I was with the Ducks when they had the decoys.
Okay.
And then there was indoor soccer, and then there was indoor football, all at the pond. It used to be called the pond.
Yeah.
So after the games, this was an indoor soccer, they would go to the local, I think it was El Chorrito, that was near the stadium.
Yeah.
And when I left, I was separated at the time with my first husband. I was staying with another cheerleader, my dear friend Robin. And I was following Robin back to her house in Yorba Linda. Well, I come out of the parking lot and there was cops sitting in the parking lot waiting to follow people. And they followed me.
They're not supposed to do that.
Oh, he did. Yeah. And I'm getting on the on-ramp to the 57 and he lights me up as I'm just getting onto the freeway and pulls me over. And I had probably 1 or 2 drinks, but I knew I wasn't drunk. And I freaked out, obviously, because I was a lawyer. I wasn't a public defender yet. And the one guy that pulled me over was training. Yeah. So they had the older guy telling the younger guy what to do. And I was at least smart enough to not blow in the thing. Yep. So I was acting like I didn't know how to use it. And they were getting mad at me. And I'm like, you act like I do this all the time. I'm trying, and it wasn't registering, and I was buying some time. So they arrested me because they claimed that I didn't do my field sobriety tests, right? So then they're like, we can either drive your car off the freeway and leave it somewhere, or we can have it towed. I'm thinking, driving it off the freeway and showing me is going to take more time, right? So I picked that option. So they drove it, they parked it, they showed me where it was, and then they took me to OCJ. I would love to see my booking photo, by the way. I had never been treated so horribly. There was this female officer that was just so mean. And I was in like my cute little outfit after the game, definitely not jail attire. And she sticks me in the drunk cell with people that were actually drunk. And the last thing she says to me is, don't use the toilet paper roll as a pillow. Okay, that was the first thing I was thinking of. So I had to sit my butt in jail that whole time. They finally let me out. My case was out of North Court. I was a .07. So they didn't file. But that experience was so traumatic. Sure. That's how I got interested in being a public defender. And then ended up with the public defenders for 12 years.
Well, that's awesome. The public defender's office needs good counsel like that, not somebody who's trying to get to the other side, and I've seen so much of that, and that's just, it's, and what's funny about that is you say .07 North Court, they're filing those now.
What?
Oh yeah, because for those who don't know, there's 2 code sections.
Yeah, the A and the
one
B.
That's .08 or one any measurable amount of alcohol that they can prove impairment. So yeah, me and attorneys have been talking about this for about the last 2 years. I got a case and it was .04 and they still filed. So they're filing under the .08. I mean, it's horrible, obviously when there's accidents and people get killed, and I understand all that. Yeah. But there's so many people out there, even if you're .08 or more, it's only a legal presumption that you're impaired, which can be rebutted, because that's the whole thing. Why did you get pulled over? And 9 times out of 10, didn't use a blinker, illegal lane change, speeding, the light that illuminates the rear license plate. Not because you're swerving all over the road and doing all this. And if you are doing all that, then yeah, you should go to jail and you shouldn't be driving. But if you're obeying the rules of the road and you get pulled over for some minor traffic violation, which is usually the case, and then they want to turn it into something else, and you don't know your rights, and you think, oh, I'm fine, I can say this, I can do that, you're going to find yourself arrested and having to fight a DUI that really shouldn't have been.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some DUIs that were bad. The client's driving on the wrong side of the road and somebody's following them and they're giving a play-by-play to 911. Like, yeah.
Well, and that's what I call, okay, when they come into me with that and they're like, get me off. And I'm like, go get another attorney, because you're not getting off. I'm going to try to minimize the consequences, keep you in jail for the minimum amount of time, but you fucked up.
Yeah. There's some people that just don't want to realize it.
Yeah, and they don't want to own up to it, but it is what it is when you have a case like that. And I think that's, I've been doing this 30 years now, and I have a pretty good reputation when I walk in to court and talking to DAs, and I'm like, my client didn't do this. It's not like that. And and then they know that, I'm not trying to skirt around, because I'm the first to say, my client fucked up. Let's figure this out, and see what we can do when it's that egregious, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I did when I was a public defender. I did some DUI trials, and my favorite ones were always the no drives because it's like prove he was driving.
You're right.
But the cops now, well, if your client's in a parking lot with the car on, sleeping, they're still filing stuff like that.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those. I just had one where I had a client who got in a little fender bender on the freeway, and the guy that she collided with, they pulled over, scared the shit out of her.
Oh,
She's a
wow.
single woman, and it was like
Mhm.
11 o'clock at night, and he's coming at her with his camera, going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And she
Gosh.
gave him his insurance information, and then left and went home. And on the way home, called CHP. I was just involved in an accident. I don't
Okay.
want anyone to think that I, hit
Hit
and
and
run or
ran.
anything, but this guy scared me. Cops showed up at her house. She was all, you know,
Mm.
freaked out over everything, and she thought she was done with everything, and she started drinking when she got home. Cops show up at her door, heard you were in an accident, and she was pretty drunk by that point, and
Yeah.
they had her she did the field sobriety test in front of her house.
How much time had passed from when she called to when they showed up? That's
About
crazy.
45 minutes. About 45 minutes. And so I'm dealing
Wow.
with that case right now. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, because she talked and said shit, and
Mm.
he didn't know what she said. And she was, it is what it is. But I've had several cases like that where I had another case like that where a client was pulled over right in front of her house, and she refused field sobriety test. She refused to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got in, taken in, they took her blood. And ultimately, are you familiar with the judicial diversion in California that came out
Yeah.
a couple years ago?
Yeah.
So one of the carved out exceptions is DUIs aren't allowed with that. But when I had this case, it was right when that law was enacted,
So they were allowing
and it
it.
was still on appeal with regards to
Mm.
that. So I don't know if it's true still, but back then I had the only judicial diversion dismissal on a DUI in LA
Oh,
County.
wow.
And it was because she completely kept her mouth shut, and didn't do any of the field sobriety tests.
Yeah. That was just my personal experience. It
Well,
was
that's
horrible.
pretty amazing. I won't tell you about my experiences with the cops.
Oh, maybe you can tell me those off camera.
Off camera, yes.
Oh, man. Um, Going back to when the police pull you over, well, not necessarily pull you over. I've had certain situations where the police are literally monitoring parking lots at like shady hotels, I guess, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then somebody happens to be in their car sleeping or doing whatever, and then the cops come up to them and then they find themselves arrested. I I just don't know how to get it through people's heads, and I'm sure you're just as frustrated too, that people think they need to talk. And you said like it's ingrained from us from a young age. But I don't know how we get it out there that you don't have to talk. I don't know if it's just the pressure because it's law enforcement and they think, well, if I talk, I'm going to get myself out of this. I don't know how we get that through, you know, publicly so people will follow that advice more often.
Well, we just need more and more attorneys like us getting out there, on social media. And, like I said, we've been on social media now since 2015. And I dare say we were one of the first attorneys, smoking cannabis outwardly and
I saw those
telling people to shut the fuck up, because you don't have to tell them anything, and you're not going to talk your way out of it. And that's what a lot of people think, like, oh, I can talk my way out of this. And a lot of that problem comes from people who may have had encounters with cops and talked themselves out of it.
true.
Because in my opinion, for those pullovers, they had the dumbest cops in the world, and they were able to talk themselves out of it until they didn't. Like, I had a guy years ago who was driving around with 50 pounds of pot in his trunk. And because he had been pulled over like 9 times before and was honest,
Oh, jeez.
he did it again. And that cop wasn't having any of it. And and then, he got busted and told the cop everything he needed to hear to be able to search and do everything. So it's a combination of that and people getting away with things because they've talked and were nice, and oh, I just, told the cop what he wanted to know, and he let me go. And well, that was that cop.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to work every time, and it works until it doesn't, and then becomes a very, very hard lesson. So, it's podcasts like this and attorneys like us just constantly voicing, you don't have to talk to them. And I think more of that is coming to the forefront with, everything that's going on in the world
Mm,
and everything that we're seeing.
that's so true. It's crazy, especially on like the federal level now with some of the stuff that's going on. Um, all of the protesting, and I represented a protester when all of this stuff started breaking out, and thank
Mm,
God they didn't indict him. The US attorney decided they weren't going to move forward, which was great, but there's some crazy cases out
yeah,
there. But as
absolutely.
long as people heed the advice and, get the message out, there is one thing that I find problematic is the clients that we have that have records. They
Yeah.
have a rap sheet. And if a police officer, runs the car or the plate and figures out, oh, this person's been in trouble before or potentially has been in trouble before, that then they pull them over, and then even though the person's been through the system and knows better, they still talk.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. Um, I mean, I have personally seen a shift to the other side for us,
Oh, okay.
with clients and with people
Hmm.
who are like, call us up. Hey, I got this case. I shut the fuck up and I follow you, and I did everything you said.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it's to get out of jail free card.
Right.
I mean, if you go committing crimes and you shut the fuck up, it's still, you're committing crimes. It's really for those people who are not committing those types of crime. And to me, if somebody wants to go sell 20 pounds of pot and they don't want to spend $1 million in this crazy legal system,
Hmm.
I don't care, but if you're going to keep it in the trunk, keep it vacuum sealed, no smell, then you get pulled over. There's no reason that that cop should be going in your trunk. When you get pulled over, you should be getting a ticket or a warning for the reason that you were pulled over.
Hmm.
Nothing more.
Yeah.
Nothing more. It should never escalate, and it always escalates because people start answering questions or consent to a search, which is beyond me why somebody would say, okay, search, when they know they
I
got a
know.
million pounds. They know what they have in the car. I mean, I can't answer why somebody does that, but people do.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. I think I'm getting sign from my people that our time is up, which that went so fast.
Wasn't that like 20 minutes?
I think it was, are we in 45? I think we're at 45. We just kept talking.
I haven't even given you the slam poem.
Oh, well, then you need to give me the slam poem.
You want it?
I do.
All right. So many years ago, out of frustration of clients, especially younger ones who weren't getting it, I created this poem that when I created it, it was long before we were doing what we were doing on social media. And once we started doing this, and we've done appearances at conventions and events and concerts, and the whole shebang. And I started doing this on stage as a way to try to ingrain in younger people to shut the fuck up. So I wrote a poem called "Am I Being Detained or Am I Free to Go?" And I'm happy to share it with you. I got to put my mask on. Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is what to say. My lawyer tells me so. The cops are out there doing a job. Sometimes they must contain a mob, a thankless job that saves many lives. At their home are worried children, husbands, and wives. But does that give them the right to stomp on my rights? So we are here for you, the cannabis community, to fight, to let you know it's okay to just shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. You start with "I'm not discussing my day," end with "I invoke the fifth." These ain't suggestions. These are words to live by, to memorize. See, it's not about the size of that cop's gun, because they want you to run. So they could pull that macho gun and shoot you for fleeing the scene. Some cops are just plain mean. We must shut it off, shut it down. Those feelings of anger that instantly come around when that cop has to show his power and his might without cause, without reason, and we know they're not right. We must remain calm, keep the devil sleeping on the left shoulder. We must be cold, even colder. Ice must flow through your veins to shut that heat, the blood that rushed your brain straight from your feet when that cop disrespected you, 'cause you wouldn't tell him what that smell was? And he accuses you of a pot DUI because he absolutely knows that you're buzzed. But see, they can't tell and they don't know. Only if you tell them so. "Oh, officer, I smoked a joint a few hours ago." "Officer, here's my medical rec." "Officer, I'm a marijuana patient." We live in America. Prohibition still exists. That cop's going to do whatever he's going to do. 50-50, he arrests you. Give us a chance to represent you with the defense that's blazing. Let us show you in court we're amazing. But we could only do that if you listen to our tips. Now let me see you move your lips. You know the drill. But when the cops ask questions, we say, "I'm not discussing my day. Am I being detained or am I free to go?" I invoke the fifth, and then you shut the fuck up. It's all about what you say and what you do. We have given you the script. We are telling you what to say. We are telling you what to do. We've put your hands up in protection mode. But should you take a shot to the jaw, we will be here fighting for the cannabis community and all citizens, because we are the Pot Brothers at Law.
Awesome. Wow. That was quite the slam poem.
Well, thank you very much. I freak a lot of people out when I get up on stage and they see this old Jewish man spitting that knowledge. But it's been approved by, Killer Mike and Snoop Dogg and everybody in between. So
that's awesome.
We're happy to just spread that knowledge.
Well, thanks so much, Marc. It was such a pleasure having you on, and I hope to see you at the reunion this year.
Are you coming to our reunion, the 86?
I want to come. When is it?
Okay.
You'll send me the info.
It's in September. I'll make sure to get you. We're getting it also. We're doing it at the Cerritos Library Sky Room.
Nice. All right.
So, we're getting that all, and I'll make sure to get you everything you need to know. It'll be great to see you.
Perfect. Thanks, Marc. I'm sure I'll see you in court sometime.
Absolutely. You have a great one. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's it for us here on the Legal Vixen Podcast. That was a great time with Marc Wasserman and the Pot Brothers at Law. Make sure you keep your mouth shut. You know the real saying. We'll see you next time. Bye.